big billionaire investors in the West, they're starting to realize they need the real thing. And I think that's why the silver isn't there for sale because people know it's going to go a lot higher. We've just broken 50, which was a historic level. And I think, yeah, even though it might retest that 50 level, I think it's only going higher. So people are very reluctant to lend it out. And that's why the lease rates have gone through the roof. As for gold, Eric has made a good summary of what's going on vis-a-vis China and the BRICS and the trade war or a tariff war. I think one of the other reasons gold is going up or the fiat currencies are going down is because people are starting to realize that the central bankers have to.
The silver market has been based more on paper promises than actual metal for many years. This imbalance is the root cause of silver's volatility and long-term manipulation, according to seasoned analyst Mario Innecco. He clarifies that the issue isn't scarcity, but rather a flawed system that has kept prices disconnected from actual physical worth due to excessive leverage and paper trading. But Innecco thinks the paper illusion is crumbling when silver surpasses the crucial $50 threshold. An increasing lack of confidence in the financial system that has kept silver artificially repressed for decades is indicated by investors' refusal to sell or lend their holdings. Innecco now sees a significant shift in monetary power toward the east as countries like China and India, whose economies were formerly built on silver, increase their worldwide importance. A new era of sound money is suggested by central banks' covert diversification away from the dollar and acquisition of tangible assets. If you want more content on precious metals investing, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell.
Mario, I wonder what your thoughts are on this lack of silver supply in the LBMA, its potential implications, and your thoughts on the gold market at present as well.
Yeah, the silver, what Eric said about 100 airplanes is interesting because if the price of silver were at $2,000 an ounce, that would be quite economical. So I think the only thing that will solve this problem will be a much higher price. As for the supply, I think the supply is out there. Of silver. It's just that the bullion banks for the last, well, almost 40 years since the LBMA was created by the Big Bang deregulation of Margaret Thatcher in 1987, has been a paper market. And the bullion banks and the people that trade in that market, they don't care about physical that much. And unfortunately for them, people want the real thing now, not just sovereign countries and countries in the East, but even big billionaire investors in the West. They're starting to realize they need the real thing. And I think that's why the silver isn't there for sale because people know it's going to go a lot higher. We've just broken 50, which was a historic level. And I think, yeah, even though it might retest that 50 level, I think it's only going higher. So people are very reluctant to lend it out. And that's why the lease rates have gone through the roof. As for gold, Eric has made a good summary of what's going on vis-a-vis China and the BRICS and the trade war or a tariff war. I think one of the other reasons gold is going up or the fiat currencies are going down is because people are starting to realize that the central bankers have to inflate the system away because the debt is unsustainable. And I think also the Trump administration, they've put a big chink in the armor, so to speak, of Federal Reserve independence. We've seen that, yeah, they've caved in at the Fed. I don't think they really wanted to cut rates in September, but now, yeah, now they're going to cut. I even saw yesterday that Powell said they're going to stop the QT, and they got one of Trump's guys on the Fed board, Stephen Miran, and he wants a devalued dollar. And so does Trump and Besant, even though they say that the dollar is still still the best currency. And yeah, also the central banks around the world, they want an alternative to the dollar, and the only alternative as a monetary reserve asset is gold. So that's why gold is going up. And in the West, yeah, people are starting to wake up about it. But I see that it's more in places like Japan, Hong Kong, and even Australia, where people are lining up now to buy physical gold and silver. Here in the UK, I haven't seen that yet, even though the Royal Mint has said that the purchase by retail has gone up a lot. And I think physical gold and silver is going to play a huge part in being able to come back from a currency collapse. But I think it's a prospect we need to keep in mind because the probability now is getting higher and higher that we will see some kind of currency event. And I think the powers that be will try to exploit it to make things even, to control us even more. But I think they will fail because they tried that in France, revolutionary France, after the assignats failed miserably. They they were going to bring in another currency called the mandat territorial, and that didn't even get off the ground, and it collapsed completely even before they issued the currency. So yeah, my hope is that all this talk of stable coins, CBDC, that would be just talk.
The Western precious metal system is growing extremely precarious, according to Mario Innecco. He clarified that rather than actual physical gold and silver, markets like COMEX and the LBMA mostly rely on leverage and paper contracts. In order to transport the silver that was purportedly supporting those contracts, hundreds of planes would be required, illustrating how little actual metal is available for delivery. Confidence is eroding after decades of reliance on this paper-based system. Innecco claims that this change is already driving international trade eastward, particularly to locations like Shanghai, where deals are supported by real metal rather than conjecture. He thinks a more serious financial catastrophe may eventually be triggered by the flaws in the Western economy. Physical gold and silver may be essential to restoring stability and trust when confidence in fiat money wanes. According to Innecco, this shift is practically inevitable due to the world's enormous debt and inflated financial system. He believes that using actual assets is the first step toward a more stable and ethical global monetary system, not only a means of protection. Show some love by hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, and turning on notifications. Your support means a lot.
I mean, what Eric said is all like, I agree 100%. One thing I would say, though, is that the genie is out of the bottle now. And what do I mean by that? I'll make an analogy so the viewers, so it makes it a bit simpler for the viewers to understand what's going on. Let's say we all went to an opera in Vienna or something in the winter, and we had to leave our coats in the cloakroom, and they give us a ticket to get our coats back. And then the people at the opera who run the cloakroom start lending your coats to people on the streets and saying you have to bring it back at this time, and basically that's the LBMA for you. But then the opera, for some reason, ends early, and everyone comes out and they want their coats, and their coats are not there. And the people who work in the cloakroom are desperate to try to get the coats that they lent out. So that's basically what it is, I think. And I think it's like Eric said earlier, it's going to take hundreds of airplanes to bring the silver from COMEX. And the other thing that we haven't really looked at, I think the COMEX warehouses and their supplies of silver are a little bit like on the LBMA. It seems to me that it's double counted because, as Eric said, the bullion banks use these warehouses and these ETFs to satisfy the demand for physical. So when they need physical, they'll go to SLV, GLD, or they even went for PSLV. I remember a few months ago, they're trying to borrow PSLV because when there's net buying, they need to buy physical silver. So yeah, it's exposing a whole fraudulent, in my opinion, fractional reserve nature of well, basically it's a foreign exchange OTC LBMA market. Yes, COMEX is exchange traded, but it's intertwined with that. So that's what's happening, I think. And it's been like that for 40 years, as I said earlier. And I think this mechanism is failing. And that's why we're going to see the precious metals market move in importance east, and we're already seeing that with Shanghai and other places. I met a guy in Zurich about a year ago at a precious metals conference. I call him the Gnome of Zurich because he doesn't want his name to be publicized. And he told me a story of Germany after the Franco-Prussian War of 1871. They won and they had loads of silver and they didn't know what to do with it. And Bismarck told the Kaiser we should sell the silver, and that drove the price a lot lower. And then a couple of years later, the United States decided to demonetize silver. They used to have a bimetallic system. The Act 1873, they call it the Great Crime of 1873. And ever since then, silver has been played second fiddle to gold. And I think the 50 level is significant because silver tried in 1980 to get to become important again, and they squashed it. I spoke to Peter Carlin, who wrote a book with Jim Sinclair, and he told me how Jim Sinclair was called in by Paul Volcker to try to stop the Hunt brothers. And then in 2011, we tried again to go above 50, and JP Morgan, the rumor is JP Morgan smashed the price of silver. It dropped out of bed. Everyone was shocked. And so that's why 50 is so important, because I think, it's going to be hard to get silver back below 50. And the other thing about silver, I think, is that the whole of the East, Asia, India, and those nations, prior to the 1930s and even 1870, they used silver as money. And what the suppression has done to those nations in that part of the world is to really hurt them, because about 250 years ago, the major nations of the world economically were China and India. So I think it's only normal now with silver becoming more important that those countries, which basically now are BRICS, are becoming more and more important. So that's why I think this 150-year price suppression is coming to a close.
Mario Innecco clarified that a weak and deceptive mechanism underpins the Western precious metals market, particularly COMEX and the LBMA. He claimed that it would require hundreds of aircraft to transport all the silver purportedly kept in COMEX, demonstrating how little actual, tangible silver there is to support the market. He believes that a large portion of the gold and silver in these systems is double counted, which means that several parties are claiming the same bars through ETFs and paper contracts. According to Innecco, this system has been in place for over 40 years, but it is currently beginning to break down. Because of this, he anticipates that the hub of the world's precious metals trade will move from the west to the east, where markets like Shanghai deal in actual, tangible metal rather than paper promises. Innecco noted that whenever silver attempts to regain prominence, like it did in 1980 with the Hunt brothers or in 2011, big institutions like JP Morgan or the Federal Reserve stifle it. According to him, the $50 mark is both commercially and symbolically crucial for silver. Once it crosses that threshold, it will be difficult to drive the price back down. Lastly, he underlined that coalitions like the BRICS are helping Asia and India, which have historically used silver as money for generations, regain their prominence in the world. According to him, silver's 150-year repression is coming to an end, which will cause the US dollar's value to plummet as silver's value soars. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you never miss an update.